AI is not going to take your job. A person using AI is going to take your job. So why would you not use AI? I mean, I as a writer, when I first saw some of these products, I'm like, oh my God, that's what I do. They're doing what I'm doing. But now I'm leaning into it. And actually, I'm finding it inspirational. It's not that I'm not scared of it, but I'm like more excited by it. So I've started training my Jill bot, if you like. And I've had a lot of fun. And the earlier iterations were, it was so funny because I'd ask questions. I put it on my writing site as opposed to my activism, as opposed to my journalism. And it's very funny because some of the first sort of answers were, oh, to be sure. You know, the Irish thing that, you know, it's the Irish. Anyway, I went back to it. I said, no, I don't speak like that. Really, that is not Jill. That's not me. But we're refining it the whole time and adding stuff in. A couple of months ago, there was a competition on our local radio station, and it was called a prompt. And it was looking for people to write pieces on the prompt. And one of the prompts that I got I read was a world without. And I think the author set it up was thinking about a world without. I think it was pandemic, a world without, you know, love, care, touch, affection, being at the funeral of somebody. But I said, ooh, a world without me is now impossible. And I wrote this short piece and I really loved it. It was so much fun. And it was accepted and it was read out on the national radio. So I was very proud. And then I thought, after my experience with the prompt and with the digital twins and just thinking about something, technology and people interacting, becoming as one almost. And then I went back and I took my short story and I converted it into a novella.
Hi, and welcome to the Anyas Crypto. Today, we're speaking with Jillian Godsil, and I'm so excited to speak with you. You're such an interesting character. You've been in crypto for such a long time and have such a long list of accomplishments. Some of the things that Jillian is into is, of course, being a blockchain advisor. She's a founder. She's a conference chair. She's a keynote speaker. She's also award-winning crypto journalist. Of course, she's an author, a CEO, and an advocate for women in crypto. Welcome, Jillian.
Thank you very much for having me on the show, Monica. Thank you.
I mean, just to highlight for our listeners, some of the things that you're doing and are a part of is you're an advisor for Sensei, which is an AI chatbot company. You're also a journalist at Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, also at Block Leaders, which Jillian founded herself. Yeah. She's an author of 18 books. And now
some of them very bad.
No. And this new one she's just released called Delilah, Delightful Dancing Emporium, and head of PR and communication at Secret Network. Also Congresswoman at Liberland. Am I saying that right?
I say Liberland, but it depends. We say Liberland or Liberland.
Okay, let's do that. And a former independent European Parliament candidate and also a dreamer. So I love that you put that in there because that's such an important part of life. And I also feel like people that dream, they actually accomplish more because when you allow yourself to dream, you can just see things from a different angle. So I'm very happy you put that in your bio.
Thank you. And it's just funny, I was just talking about it today, messaging on my WhatsApp with my family. And the thing about being an author is that I'm a well-known journalist, and that's straightforward. You can be a journalist, fine. But I'm actually writing a lot of fiction, more fiction these days. And I'm getting some of my short stories, my poems accepted into different anthologies or, you know, magazines and stuff. And I was saying to my family, oh, I'm a real writer now. And they're going, you are a writer? I'm going, no, a real writer. And I think this year I'm really pushing myself out there. And I said, if I want to be an author, a writer, which is core. I mean, I love being a journalist, but being a writer is really core to what I want to be. I've got to act like one. So I'm now a writer.
For us that are not fluent in journalism and being an author, what is really the difference?
In my head, it's very clear. I mean, being a journalist, I love being a journalist and I do a lot of interviews, especially founder interviews. And I really like doing that because I'm more of a feature writer and analyzer than I'm not a hard-nosed journalist or I'm not an investigative journalist, but I love doing the writing. But when I say author, I mean, I'm writing non-fiction books and that takes creativity to a whole new level because you've got to create a world that you create a world. It's not just reporting on the world. You're creating new things. So that to me is very exciting. That's where I want to be. That's my North Star.
Nice. Yeah. And just as a little icebreaker here, how has your week been? And especially has your week in crypto been?
It's been very good, actually, very busy. And after our conversation, I'm running up to Dublin because I live in Wicklow, south of Dublin, and I'm going to give a talk on my new book, basically, and digital twins to the crowd in ETH Dublin. So that's exciting because, again, putting myself out there, I said I should be talking about this. So I'm trying to be, they
That's
say
awesome.
you need to, see the change that you can be. So I'm putting that training around saying, I'm going to be the change that I want to be. So I have like volunteering for stuff, left, right, and center, going, I'll do a talk about my new book.
Yeah, that's really great. And I'm sure you're going to meet so many interesting people today. Yeah, I'm sure ETH Dublin, ETH in general is a really huge event. I don't know how big it is in Ireland, but I'm sure it's...
And it's the 10th anniversary today, I think. The 10th anniversary of the foundation of Ethereum. So it's like a big moment.
So before we get into crypto, I was going to ask you, what was your life like before you got into crypto and AI?
Wow. Okay. Well, I think of myself of having 3 lives so far. And the 4th one's going to be the full-time writing, authoring type one, whatever. First third, quarter, whatever. I'm trying to divide my life up. Ordinary, very nice. I went to Trinity College, studied history and English in Ireland, and hard on the milk round for JP Morgan, and then went and worked in London in the city. And I worked in Australia and Singapore, and I had a very, good corporate life, very much enjoyable. And then I came back to Ireland in my early 30s, and I was married and I had 2 children, and we had a big house in the country. But then I was hit by divorce and recession. That totally changed my life. There was a huge pivot there, whatever. And I couldn't survive both, basically. And I ended up, it was a crash, and the financial crash, the global crash was very tough on Ireland because we had the Celtic Tiger immediately prior. So it felt off the cliff was very, very steep. Long story short, basically my ex went back to the UK. So I tried to sell the house. He went back to the UK, became bankrupt, and gave all the debt, because we had a lot of debt on the house, to myself and our 2 children, my divorce present, as I say. And so I'm struggling trying to figure that out. And the house prices are crashing and everything. And then I made a video to sell the house. I went a bit viral. It was weird. All of a sudden, people were saying, who was this woman in Wicklow with her 2 children selling her big house? And I think because I epitomized ordinary folk, there was a big house, all right, but I wasn't like a developer, and I wasn't like a mad party girl. I was just an average mum with 2 small children, average entrepreneur. Anyway, so I became very famous. And as part of becoming very famous, I was in documentaries, and they interviewed me on radio and TV, and I was with Al Jazeera and Russia Today and Belgian TV and French TV. I started to see that there was a lot of shame happening to people who were failing financially. I'm going, I lost everything. The banks actually repossessed my home in the end. And that was very painful. But I hadn't cheated or lied or stolen anything or killed anybody, God forbid. I had just been very unlucky, I say, in the 2 things coming together. But I was very cross at what was happening. So at that point, and this actually is relevant to getting to Web3, at that point, I got very angry. I became an accidental activist. I got really mad. Don't get a woman mad. I got really mad at what's happening to people.
Yeah, who knew? It's a lot of power in being mad.
Isn't it? So anyway, when my home was repossessed, I realized that I had to go bankrupt. That's the thing I was facing me. But I also learned that as a bankrupt, I was not allowed to run for public office. We inherited arcane law from the UK, kind of back in from the day when you had to be a man of property to vote, that type of kind of logic, whatever. So I went... So I brought the Irish government to the High Court, and we went all the way to the Supreme Court, and I challenged them, and I said, you are not allowing my constitutional rights. I should be allowed to run for public office. I'm not a criminal, not a bad person. I've just failed financially. So it went through, the law went through, and then I ran in the 2014 European parliamentary elections. Now, these are quite big things. This is all Europe. And I'm on the dole. I had to borrow a car from a friend, no money, and I was an independent. And the only reason I did it was because, A, I'd earned the right. When you earn the right, you got to stand up and show up. And B, I thought, well, what can I lose? I can use the platform that I have. And I wanted to keep on talking about how it was so unfair, people being judged. Anyway, I ran in the elections, and I got 11,500 votes, which is a huge number, but not enough to get elected, but still enough to give me as if I had agency. So everything went south beforehand. I didn't know what was happening to me. Everything could go wrong, did go wrong. And then I changed the law, and I ran in Europe, and I got those votes. And I was like, wow. And then my whole world went silent. That was it. I thought, oh, I'm done now. I'll just go into the corner and be quiet. But what happened was a couple of years later, I met blockchain, and I went, And what I loved about blockchain, because I'm doing all this activism, but I'm trying to think, how can I make a difference? So I ran in Europe trying to make a difference, trying to be the change, that type of thing, to help people say, well, I failed too, and it's tough, but, you can get through it. It's not the end of the world. And then I thought, because as we all know, the transformational and democratizing impact of blockchain, the whole Web3 area, was amazing. So I said, this is great. So I jumped into Web3 with 2 feet back in 2017. And because I was so enthusiastic, coming from the political and the activism, well, more the activism, the activism side, it meant that I was volunteering for things, and I was invited to things. So I became quite high profile quite quickly, because I was like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Because I wanted to make a world a better place. And it was so exciting that I could as an individual, contribute to making the world a better place. So that's my background. And then the next one that I'm going to is the writing. I haven't quite achieved that.
We'll get there. We'll get there. I just wanted, how did you stumble upon crypto and blockchain? Because in 2017, you still were like really an outlier if you were in crypto. Myself, I also just stumbled upon it in about the same time. And slowly this is changing and we are getting mainstream now, thankfully. Yes. It's actually happening. So we're living in an exciting time. 2017, that's, how did you
Well, what happened was
about it?
I was in fintech. So I pretty much, my career got into fintech, and I did a lot of journalism too while I was doing all this activism. I used to write op-eds for some of the broadsheets here in Ireland. And, I was honing my craft, if you like, and being angry the whole time. Because to do an op-ed, you have to have strong opinions. You can't just say, oh, it's a nice day, and I went for a walk.
Sure.
And then a friend of mine, whom I knew back in, we'd done some work together in fintech, he said, there's this new project coming out. And it was going to be one of the first Irish ICOs, except at the end of the day, the chap who was leading it kind of, he got cold feet, I suppose is the best way to describe it. Didn't actually happen. But I've been exposed to all this stuff, and I'm going, whoa, I had no idea. And I think you'll understand, people maybe watch will understand, it's a big jump from Web 2 to Web 3. It says, even though I had done fintech for 30 odd years or however long, 25 years, it's a big jump into Web3 and the whole blockchain thing, and then the philosophy, and then the concept of what blockchain can do, and money and tokens. It's a whole mind bleep bleep. It really is. It really is a hard thing to move. So even though I was involved with an ICO, it didn't come off. It propelled me into the middle of it. And I was saying to my friend, how do I get it? How do I learn more? And he said, write about it, which is true. I was writing otherwise, but I volunteered. You may have heard of Simon Cocking. He's here based in Ireland, but he's been involved in the space for a long time. He used to be one of the top ICO benchers back in the day, a long time ago. But anyway, he was writing, so he gave me stuff to read and to write about, and he gave me all these white papers for ICOs. I still hadn't got a clue what I was doing, but it takes a while. I mean, I obviously feel comfortable now, but it takes a while to make that transition to understand, because it's based on money and value and your worldview. And then I got a bit worried because, because you have this idea it's Ponzi and it's gangster and it's scammy. I'm none of those things. He went, oh no, there's this other side of it, the do good, the change things, it's the innovate, it's help people. And I'm not saying we all have to be, hippy dippy going around helping people, whatever, but it's a much nicer atmosphere to work in there than just general, regular, business and commerce.
Absolutely, because it's baked into the code. There is incentive to help each other because it's all by collaboration. You grow together. And also what you mentioned with, there's so many different aspects to it. So there is a lot to learn, actually. So there is a bit of a learning curve. However, it is getting easier and easier. There are, many YouTube videos and resources online these days, which they weren't back then. So, or a limited amount. And getting involved, writing about it, or myself creating events for these blockchain companies. This was also the school that I went to, learning by doing. So, yeah. But what was that real pivotal moment for you when you were like, okay, this looks interesting, I'm learning some things, but what was that like, aha, wait, this is actually important?
That's a very good question. I think it was more a slippery slope than an actual aha moment. I think I was kind of going, and understanding more and more and writing more and more. And also part of my job was to interview founders. Now, a lot of the founders that I interviewed back in 2017 they're not there now. They're gone from, they were enthusiastic, and some of them raised lots of money, but they didn't stand. And, I'm not saying that they were scams. They were startups.
No, but Jillian, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but some of those ideas, if they would have come out with them now, they probably would have worked.
Yes, you're 100% right.
It just wasn't the right time.
Yeah, I mean, apart from, there was one chap I do remember who was definitely a scammy person, but everybody else, they were just trying to figure out things out, trying to make money, trying to build companies, trying to build creations, trying to reinvent the world. I think I love two things. So you're saying what was a pivotal moment? I didn't really have a pivotal moment, but because I was so lucky in being able to interview all these founders, I went, I like this. And every founder I interviewed, I went, I like this. This is interesting. And it's given me like I'm lifelong passion for this space, because I'm not doing token prices, and I'm not doing pure tech either, because pure tech is good, but it's not that exciting. But the people So I think it was people. It was a people sandwich. Lots of people layered together. And eventually I went, this is where I belong.
Hi friends, are you ready to unlock opportunities in crypto and understand Web3? Whether you're an absolute beginner or someone looking to level up your skills, our course, Blockchain and Web3 Pro, From Beginner to Expert, is for you. Lindsay and I have been in crypto since 2017. We've worked in marketing, business development, investor relations, and media. We've combined our expertise into one clear, actionable, and most importantly, chatty and fun course. I know Web3 can seem overwhelming, but the good news is you don't have to be a genius programmer to succeed. Our course makes it easy with step-by-step tutorials to guide you no matter where you're starting from. Here's what you'll learn. The basics of Web3 and why it matters. Blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, how to use wallets. We'll explore NFTs and the creator economy, but also how to master Web3 marketing tools that drive results. We'll also get into advanced topics such as DeFi, Deepin, and all the innovations that basically matter. This course is perfect for marketers, project and community managers that want to break into crypto and get a job, for brands and influencers that want to incorporate Web3 into their business, but it's also for anyone exploring Web3 for the first time, how to tap into these incredible opportunities and make informed decisions. 2025 is the year of Web3. Don't miss out. Sign up today. And especially when you're interviewing founders, they all have that passion and they're really building because they want to change something. They want, not all, but most of them actually want to change the world or want to innovate something. So it is very inspiring to speak with all of these people. And you're also one of them that are very excited about it. So
people are lovely.
Yeah. And then you ended up being a congresswoman for Liberland. Can you tell us about it? What is it?
That only happened recently, but back in 1919, I heard about this place, this micronation called Liberland. And it was established, it's 10 years ago, established by a Czech economist and politician and professor. I think he is also a lecturer. But he had this idea of he wanted to change. He was unhappy with the government where he was living, but he said, I can't change, it's too hard. Why don't I create a new country? So he did. He found a piece of land.
That's easier.
I know. There aren't too many of them left, but he found this piece of land. It was 7 kilometers square on the Croatian side of Croatia, on the border of the Danube. It was left over from after the Yugoslavia was broken up and after the wars there. And it hadn't been claimed because actually, I didn't realize this until recently, the Danube had moved. So the Danube had actually, the boundary had moved over time because of different waterworks or whatever it was. People live on the Danube. So this is a little piece of land that was not claimed. And neither Croatia or Serbia, either side of them, really wanted it. They weren't very keen on Delilah claiming this because that would mean they'd have to agree to other things. So it was their political geo sort of politics. Anyway, he claimed this, and 10 years on, there's loads of things happening there. They're building, they're doing stuff, and they're putting up. They're going to have the Floating Man Festival next week, and I actually went to it in 2019, and it was amazing because we went down the Danube in boats. We'd actually come in Serbia, not in Croatia, because Croatia was very anti the new country. We went down, they followed us. The Croatian police with big guns followed us, and boats followed us on the Danube. And then when we got to where Liberland was, there were policemen all there with big, huge machine guns. So we couldn't land. It was quite scary. But now there's a more commonality. There's it's all sort of settled, sort of quieting down. I know it'll be a proper country. But anyway, to go back to your question, because
does it have something to do with crypto or is it a tax haven?
Yeah. No, what it is, the founder and government, they're all there. And that'll have been there from the very beginning. He's a libertarian. So he decided to run the government on the blockchain. So that's what they're doing. They've built a government structure on the blockchain. So it's all transparent. There are elections every 3 months. I actually should say I'm a former congresswoman. I was the first female congresswoman who voted in, and then I was voted out again. It's kind of secular, but it's every 3 months that the elections come about. And it means it's quite a tight time. When I was trying to get stuff done, it's very hard to do stuff in 3 months, especially when I wasn't a full-time congresswoman. I was doing other things as well. But it's interesting. And I like the idea of a country that's born without bloodshed, especially in these days. It's kind of a nice concept. So, and there's a very strong, when they set up originally, I think they nearly got 800,000 people applying to be residents. I have a passport here someplace. You get a passport. You can't really use it properly yet on main sort of country posts. But and the idea is that tax is voluntary. It's one of the things you're saying about, is it a tax haven? Tax is voluntary. You choose to pay it or not. So interesting. There's a lot of, like, again, a bit like no more than crypto. Things like, oh, that's a different proposition. And it's very much government light touch, libertarian viewpoints.
And just to have voting on blockchain is such a good use case for blockchain, and something that I'm still passionate. I know people aren't really talking about that much anymore, but that's a phenomenal use case, just voting. It's so clear. There can't be any fraud when you have a blockchain, and you'll see it in real time. You have your wallet, you're voting. It can be everything confirmed, not like bail-in ballots or I don't know, all these machines or whatever. So I think that's a great use case as well.
Yeah, no, it's super. I mean, they're doing great guns. So they'll have the Floating Man Festival next week. They have a lot of support from a lot of libertarians around the world too, as well, and a good grassroots following. But no, they're tenacious, and I admire.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, well,
go visit sometime.
Next week, head over to the Floating Man Festival.
Right, who knows, maybe. So right now you're doing a few things. So you have a role at Sensei and also at Secret Network. Maybe let's start with Secret Network, since that's more blockchain.
Yeah.
So first of all, what is Secret Network? I know it's also somehow has a role in the Artificial Superintelligent Alliance together with Fetch, SingularityNet, Ocean Protocol, and Kudos. Or maybe you have a collaboration or something like that. Could you? Yeah,
well, Secret was one of the first. Just interesting, when people think about two things, they think about blockchain and it's transparent. That's wonderful, right? So people in the know it. But most people outside think, it's only always by criminals. But it's pseudo-anonymous. Once you know someone's wallet, you can track what they've done post and future. And the idea behind, and not to get confused with privacy coins, which have a very different, privacy coins are meant to disguise how you spend your money, which is fine. It's a different thing. But Secret was founded to offer confidential computing. And there's different ways of offering this. And there's Secret also set up a thing called the DCC Alliance, the Decentralized Confidential Computing Alliance, where gathered together lots of different companies who are working in this space, but using different technologies. As it happens, Secret uses TE, which is Trusted Execution.
And we're back with Jillian Godsil. We had a bit of a mishap with the connection, and we seem to be back online. So I just want to, dive back into our conversation here and pick up where we left off with Secret Network. Jillian, maybe you can tell us a little bit what it is and how it's maybe different from other chains.
Well, it's a bit of an OG. It was launched, I think, in 2020, and I've had a great fun year, last 12, 13 months working with them. And I think what the eye-opener for me was, like when I got into blockchain originally, it was all about transparency, immutability, all the things that we love about it. And the transparency is a huge part. But it wasn't until I started having conversations with Lisa Loud from Secret Network, I suddenly went, oh, hang on, there is a need for privacy. And I think a lot of people in Web 2 say, why do you need to be private? Because, if you like to hide, you can let it all hang out there, blah, blah, blah. And then increasingly, I think people who are on Web 3, they understand privacy is huge. And it's not the privacy is like the bedrock of any democracy is your private ballot, your private vote. And again, simple things. You don't want to, your doctor, to what you tell your doctor, you're not going to tell it to your postman or your shopkeeper. There's different conversations that you have, and there's parts that you want to selectively disclose or not disclose. You don't want to live in a glass house. Who wants to live in a glass house? Everybody looking in like as if you're at the zoo or something like that. So Secret Network has been going a long time. They've done a very strong amount of work in looking at making confidential computing. And that means that it's very important for not only individuals, but for businesses, for example, because you don't want, again, if you're running a business on the blockchain, it's great to have the stuff transparent. You want to have transparent, but you don't necessarily want to have your secret sauce or your salary, your employees' salaries, different things that are not meant to be public. They're meant to be private. And Secret works, its technology, its different technologies are used in this space. It uses the TE, which is a trusted execution environment. So it's on the hardware. And it means you can be on chain, but you can not disclose and you can obscure different parts of what you're running on chain. So it's a very powerful thing. And last year they launched a thing called the DCC, which is the Decentralized Confidential Computing. And they brought in a number of different companies, about 16 different companies, some of them directly competitive, some working TE, some working in MCPs and different forms of ZK proofs, different forms of ways of creating confidential computing. And it's very important because although these companies that came together, say some of them are competitive, some of them are collaborative, but it's interesting to recognize that for mainstream adoption, you're going to need things like confidential computing, because that is so important. So I've had a really interesting year looking at the concepts of privacy, why it's important. And that has been a bit of an eye-opener for me, because I say when I ran in first, it's like, oh, it's all transparent. You're going to go, yes, that's lovely. I don't mind having a glass conservatory, but I don't want a glass house. I don't live in a glass house. So that's been a very interesting and thoughtful year, actually, looking at these concepts. So yeah, very, very enjoyable.
Right. And I love the transparency of blockchain as well, because that's what makes it valuable. But something cool with ZK knowledge, there's a way to prove that you have something without disclosing the exact amount or exactly what it is. So if you're interested in this subject, definitely look up ZK knowledge and how it works. We're not going to go into it too deep because it is a little bit of a challenge explaining it just in 5 minutes or, in a sentence. But basically, the gist of it is you can prove that you have something without showing what it actually is.
A number of different technical solutions to this issue. And they're very interesting. Very interesting. You can combine them together, use them separately. And it addresses that notion. And you're right. I mean, the big example is, you want to buy alcohol. Most countries have an age limit. But in order to buy alcohol, typically you might have to use your passport or, a driver's license. But you don't need to show them your name, where you live, how old you are. You just need to say that you are over 18, whatever the law is in the country. So it's clever. I mean, confidential computing in its different variants is very clever about what you selectively disclose and don't disclose.
That's such a good way of explaining it. Right. Very cool. So you're still working with the Secret Network.
Yes, yeah, they're a great bunch of people, and the whole industry. I mean, actually, through them, it's been fascinating because I've got to meet all the group on the DCC side. So there's a lot of people that I know in this space, all doing very good work and thoughtful work. I think that's the thing that really impressed me, was thinking about how businesses should run, how blockchain should work, and also increasingly, I know we're going to talk about AI too as well. A lot of that is people are realizing that AI is so powerful. For example, all the prompts that we use. The prompts are not covered. They're open source. So people are using AI for lots of different things. People are using AI for medical stuff, which is fine, but their stuff is not confidential. So AI is so powerful. It really needs to be looked at carefully in terms of how we can make sure that we don't lose confidentiality at scale, because AI is just so fast. It's not, you're on steroids. There was somebody talking about, I forget what it was. It was looking for a medical solution to a very sensitive topic, but their stuff is now in the open source, so now in the ether, and you don't want that. Again, there are certain things you don't want people to know about, and because AI is so powerful, it needs to be curtailed. And I know that Michael Casey, for example, he works with, it's now the Advanced AI Society, but he's an ex CoinDesk editor, amongst other things. But he would talk about, with Web 2, we ended up with 7 technology countries owning the world pretty much, and it's bad, that centralization. So he's very much into decentralization, one of his areas, because he said AI, you can't have 2 or 3 companies running the world. It's down to even less numbers of companies, and it's too dangerous. And I say, because AI, because it improves all the time, exponential, the machine learning, it's leap bounding ahead. And like a year ago, I was going, oh, and then I went, it can do this, it can do that, and it's moving all the time. And I'm not involved with video, for example, but I see stuff all the time on my scrolling. But people are using AI to create just from text prompts. I went, oh my God, it's mind blowing. It's exciting, but it's also, we need to be aware of what's happening.
Yes, absolutely. And I think people don't realize that AI and crypto kind of has this overlap. And they're kind of like opposing technologies. So AI is very centralizing in some ways, and not some ways, in a lot of ways. And crypto is very decentralized. So if you put these 2 technologies together, it could actually be kind of a good marriage, because we can leverage some good parts about crypto and some good parts about AI. And of course, with every new technology it's going to be used in some malicious ways, and it's also going to be used in amazing ways. So what's kind of your take on, how we can use both AI and crypto? Well, maybe not so much crypto, but blockchain technology together. What are some of the overlaps that you see?
Well, obviously, as you said yourself, one of the big thrust for blockchain is the decentralization. That's a huge part of it. And I think there's moves, different companies offering decentralized AI. So that I think is important. Again, get away from the centralized control. I mean, AI is phenomenal. And I think what's interesting is that people thought originally, kind of before the big AI thrust, they thought, like technology would get rid of people on factory lines, which is a good thing. You don't want to be there pushing buttons on a factory line. It's not a very edifying experience. But I didn't realize until I think AI came out 2 years ago, it's going to replace lawyers. It's going to replace writers. At the end of the day, actually, it's not going to replace them per se. I think I interviewed somebody recently and they said, AI is not going to take your job. A person using AI is going to take your job. So why would you not use AI? I mean, I as a writer, when I first saw some of these products, I'm like, oh my God, that's what I do. They're doing what I'm doing. But now I'm leaning into it. And actually, I'm finding it inspirational. It's not that I'm not scared of it, but I'm like more excited by it. And I think we're going to talk about, I was recently away in Serbia with Sensei, which is this fantastic company that are developing digital twins. And I went sort of a deep dive with that. And that is fascinating. Like we've seen the Black Mirror editions, which are a bit dystopian. But a lot of it is like in chatbots. We're used to chatbots and AI. That's kind of been there for a while where you can navigate your customer service to a certain point. And then you might need a customer service. You might or might not. But what Sensei are doing, they're really interesting. They're creating replicas. And the guy who set it up, Dan Thompson, interesting man, philosopher, he's written several books. But he had an experience in his earlier life where he lost his memory for, I think it was a couple of days or whatever. And he went, oh my God, what am I without memory? And it kind of really made him think about what am I? So what he's created, they're doing a number of different things, but what he's created is like a Dan bot. And what's interesting is that in Web3, we all expect to be able to talk to founders. The lowliest of person, the person just joined the group, they expect to have that interaction in Telegram or Discord. It's a whole different way of looking at things. So he would have spent a lot of his time interacting with people, asking questions about Sensei, what he was doing. All very reasonable, sensible questions. But he's been growing and developing his own AI bot called DanBot. And he says that it not say gets rid of it, but it deals with almost 70% of the stuff I used to have to do before, talking to people, and it's the same questions. If I've just joined a group, I'll be like, oh, well, you're here. What's the thing? So a lot of the time it's the same questions. It's not unique. You're not trying to build a relationship. You're just trying to get information. And also people don't realize that, and he's not very upfront about it. They don't realize they're talking to DanBot until about maybe it could be 30 messages. And they go, oh, we'd have to get you the real Dan. Oh, this isn't the real Dan. And he's made a big point. He's created a replica of himself. So much so, he says that sometimes he's an Englishman and he does use the C word, right? Bold like that. And I'm not quite sure if the Dan bot does that, but it's very close to him. It's very, it has his person, and he's training him. So I've started training my Jill bot, if you like. And I've had a lot of fun. And the earlier iterations where, it was so funny because I'd ask questions. I put it on my writing site as opposed to my activism, as opposed to my journalism. And it's very funny because some of the first sort of answers were coming out, oh, to be sure. The Irish thing that, it's the Irish. Anyway, I went back to him and said, no, I don't speak like that. Really. That is not Jill. That's not me. But we're refining it the whole time and adding stuff in. And I'm finding it fascinating. And if I could just segue, I got so excited about this. I also interviewed Twin Protocol, Stacey Engels, who's the CEO there, and I interviewed some other people too as well who are working on different replicas, different digital twins. And I read up in Korea, I think it is South Korea. They have this thing where they have things re-memory, and because the Koreans and Japanese and Asians are a lot of more ahead of us in terms of technologies. It's a different approach to it. But in this case, they have this re-memory program. People of an older age upload videos of themselves and thoughts and I'm not quite sure how it's done, but it's definitely done based on video. And so that after they die, their grandchildren can talk with them. Just I think the Western psyche, it's a bit weird, but I think as someone was saying in Asian society, because they revere their elders so much, it's not like kind of strange stuff, but it's really interesting. So I was we're getting deep into this. And around the same time, couple of months ago, there was a competition on our local primary radio station, and it was called The Prompt. And it was looking for people to write pieces on the prompt. And one of the prompts that I got I read was A World Without. And I think the author set it up was thinking about a world without, I think it was pandemic, a world without, love, care, touch, affection, being at the funeral of somebody. But I said, ooh, a world without me is now impossible. And I wrote this short piece and I really loved it. It was so much fun. And it was accepted and it was read out on the national radio. So I was very proud. But it also went back, and this is where I'm just saying I'm excited by this. I'd written a short story, and actually the short story was selected for this book. So it was 21 Futures, and it was a sci-fi short story that I'd written some time ago, and I really liked it. And then I thought, after my experience with the prompt and with the digital twins, and just thinking about something, technology and people interacting, becoming as one almost. And then I went back and I took my short story and I converted it into a novella. And that to me is very exciting, because on the one hand, you might say that, AI would replace a writer, or could AI inspire a writer? And since this year has been a fascinating year for me, because I'm writing more. I've joined a little writing group where I live, but also that thing about the digital twins. And I love the writing that I do for the journalism, and the privilege to be able to interview people like that's amazing. But then also, it meant that I've been doing more writing. I wrote another short story, not on technology or anything, but I'm writing more. And it was accepted for another anthology. It's just, and I wrote a poem there recently. When did I last write a poem? And it's I don't know. I think you can take life and you can take technology, and technology is neutral. As we were saying earlier, you use it for what you want to use it. But I'm very excited, because about 2 years ago, I was afraid that, that's my job gone. Now I'm going, no, this makes me much more productive. I can use things for ideation. I can use things like with the poem that I wrote the poem, and then I asked my AI to critique it for me. And it came back with suggestions. And I went, so the poem is mine, and I know the theme, and I know exactly what it is. But it came back and it said, this word is clunky. So it actually set up my cycle so much so that I could take a long time revising my poem. And I'm very happy with it now. And it's not much changed, but it pointed out where there was a lack of balance, and the syntax perhaps wasn't quite so smooth. And it said, what did I mean? Anyway, I had a conversation like having a tutor. So
Exactly.
I think like most things, we can look at things and say, are they a threat? Possibly, yes, to like copywriters, I think. And will we end up with a lot of dirty stuff all the same? Well, someone else said to me recently, a lot of humans write badly anyway. Maybe we just get more of the same. I'm not quite sure. I'm excited by it, though. I think for me as a creative writer, it's given me extra juice, if you like. I'm kind of going, okay, I want to write about this.
Right. And I'm in your camp as well. Of course, we need some regulations, but also not to overly regulate it. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you say people that use this amazing tool, they're going to take other people's job that don't use it. And it's a give and take thing. Like you get the AI to help you to edit, but it also, like, you're also helping it by, okay, maybe it does suggestions. And then you're like, well, actually, I don't really like it that way. Or, it's also going to be in your medium form where, for example, you can take your book, you put it into the AI, maybe additional short stories or whatever, and you can create a custom AI that's just the Delilah's, universe. People can go in there, talk to the different characters, perhaps. Of course, people still going to read the book because people like reading. You're using your own imagination, but this is a different way
powerful
to interact with the book, right?
That is very powerful. And I think there is, I'm sure there is, I mentioned a project that's similar to that, what you're actually saying. So you have this world that you've created, and someone's reading the book, and maybe they're reading online, and they can go and interrogate. Why were you doing this? What's happening here? That's mad, isn't it? So you're in the middle of a book, and sometimes I was listening to a book recently. It's a bestseller, On All Fours by Miranda July. I don't know if you've read it or not. Very interesting book, and I did not like the hero. It's in the first person singular. I did not like her at all, but I would have loved to have asked her questions. Do you know what I mean? I would have said, well, why are you doing that? Why do you think that's so important? And I would say I thought the writing was inspirational, absolutely fantastically written. I just didn't like her. And I had a conversation with somebody else yesterday too as well. And they were saying that one of the book editor for the Irish Times was saying women have felt compelled to write nice, relatable characters, whereas men don't care. Male writers are not sort of confined to writing nice characters. They write whatever characters they want. Women traditionally have had to write nice characters, and this woman is definitely an anti-hero. And but I would have liked to ask her, and perhaps, like, for example, I mightn't get access, and the average person won't get access to that particular author. Now, maybe I might through journalism, whatever, I don't know. But wouldn't it be nice if you're a reader of the book and you can ask them questions? Why did you do that?
Yeah,
why did you think that was important? That's because ask your own questions. Actually, and that exists. If she has a replica, that exists. I mean, it can be done on my replica. I must go and ask my replica some questions about my books.
Exactly.
Think about
What
it.
did I think here?
Yeah.
Well, what was my thought process? But tell us about your book and what inspired Delilah's Delightful Dancing Emporium.
Yeah. Well, I started off, I wrote a say about, do you know how what inspired it? This is very weird. Was I entering competitions, whatever at the time? But I had this notion that someone had a very elegant foot, a woman, and she would look at her foot, and you think, I don't have elegant feet, by the way. And, and that's how the main character decides when she decides to go to Mars because she's nothing left for her on Earth yet. And I think in my story, it's all sort of people who have nothing left. They're going to, it's not even like new life. It's like they're tired of their old life and her mother's dead and boyfriend's gone and she's not in a good place. And when she's getting into the sort of signing up to actually embark upon the ship to go out to Mars, they asked her, what's her profession? She doesn't really have a profession per se. I mean, she likes to dance a bit, but she looks at her foot and she goes, I'm a dancer. I'm a dance teacher. So that was the inspiration for the short story. And then the difference was with the novella, I expanded it out. And it was, even though I'm a reader, I'm quite visual. So I could almost see this as a film. I could see the things that were happening and stuff. But I wanted to include the replica. So at the end of the day, again, this goes back to the question, when you are dead, who lives on, what lives on? And before we would have had pictures and maybe family stories. And now we've an opportunity. And especially as a writer, I've got a huge amount of content that I've written. I mean, the average person might not have so much content easily grabbable because I've written my biography at different stages, whatever. As you do when you're a writer, you're a writer, you write. So I was thinking, there's a lot of content there. So what happens? Or could you, in this technical age, decide to create who it is that you are? And I think with Twin Protocol, they have different people putting together their digital twins, and they ask them a question every morning. So they're building up a profile of the person. It's teaching the thing. Like it could be, do you believe in God? Or it could be, what's your morning routine? Or what's your favorite novelist? Anyway, just these are questions that build up. So because it's very hard. If I was to sit down and say, right, I must create a replica, where would I start? Who am I? What's my age? How many children do I have? But to understand the person, you need to be prompted. So this exists now. And, that was the reason for rewriting the novella because, and one other thought too as well, Blade Runner, the tears in the rain, the monologue at the end, and the guy goes, I have seen sunburnt ships over the far horizon.
Oh, right. Yes.
It's in the rain and it's with Harrison Ford and it's very moving and it'll all be gone when he's gone. When I don't know if he's alive or a replica, whatever, he's gone, that memory will be wiped. And I thought, or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe if he had a digital twin, might live on after him. And obviously he does because he's in film. He's immortalized in film. But that was the thinking behind it. And that's why I was saying that it's, I suppose, no more than Charlie Bruckner and the Black Mirror series on BBC. I'm actually finding now that it's not that I'm a sci-fi writer. I mean, actually, even though it's a sci-fi book, it's not. It's a story of love. It just happens to be on Mars. So I have an interesting plot twist, whatever. But I find it inspiring that I'm looking now. All of a sudden, I've been wanting to do more fiction writing, and my day job is now leaching into my creative side. That's very exciting.
So, what happens to the digital twin in your story?
She's there. She's at the end. That she exists. Spoiler alert! But, she's there forever. For as long as there's electricity.
Right, of course. I was wondering about your approach to storytelling and what do you think sets your writing apart?
Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, I love writing. Back in 2014, when the banks were taking my house, the best-selling book in the world at that stage was 50 Shades. And of course, every writer goes, I could write a better book than that. So I decided to do it to save my house from the banks. That was my sort of thought, if I could save that same success. As it turns out, it didn't. But I have sold, I don't know, maybe 1,000 copies, which is very good for a self-published author. But because when I wrote a trilogy of erotica, so the same sort of style, well, not the same style, but using sex. And people would say to me, "Oh, do you get turned on when you write that? Do you get out of the mood?" And I'm going, "Well, yes, because you can't write erotica without thinking about it, and it has to work. So there is an element of that." However, I would counter it and go back to your question that if I write a nice tweet, I go, "Oh, I might reread that several times." Or I write something and I'm going, "Oh, I like that." So it turns me on sometimes, which is I'm eating my own dog food, I think it's called, and it's the wrong thing to do. You're meant to kill your darlings and not look at things, whatever. But I like writing. And then I mostly like my writing. So maybe I'm writing for an audience of one. That could be it. I'll never escape and be writing for millions. But yeah, I like writing, and and also I like to touch on themes, and I like people. So I don't know. And I like the idea with their little foot. Oh, it's an elegant foot. I'm going to be a dancing instructor.
Very fun. I'll have to go ahead and read it. How can people find it?
It's on, actually, I publish it two ways. I publish it on book.io, which is a great site. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's in the Cardano ecosystem. So you can pay with ADA, or you can pay with you can do fiat as well. But it's really interesting. They publish books. They've been going a while now, and they publish books that are, they're not NFTs. They're actually DEAs. They're decentralized assets. There's extra secret sauce in there. So they're like an NFT with extra secret sauce. When you buy, the explanation would be, when you buy a digital book from Amazon, you only buy the rights to read it, and they can take it away from you any stage. You don't actually own the book. You can't resell it or anything like that. But on book.io, when you buy the book where I published it, you then own it. So when you finish reading it, you could resell it. And also because they do book covers in different, going back to the NFT, scarcity in the numbers of copies. So it could make it valuable in years to come. So book.io is aware. And I've got my erotica is up there too as well from last year, if anyone's interested.
I'll have a look for sure. Yeah. So this is another use case for blockchain where, you have a scarce asset that maybe one of your fans want to buy something extra special. So you have it there for people. And yeah, this is another amazing way to use blockchain because there's so many angles to it and you can use it in so many different ways. So I think people do get confused still, like how do we use blockchain? Well, it's a whole new way of publishing things, of owning things, because when you're using these Web2 platforms and even Amazon or whatever, you're not actually the owner. You're like a renter. Mm. And blockchain enables you to actually own anything digitally. If it's a book, if it's a story, if it's a video, anything could be published on a blockchain and it's actually connected to your wallet. And your wallet is what holds the ownership of all of these digital assets. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of book.io. They're very good people. They're lovely people.
Oh, awesome. And so we've talked about some of your challenges, but I was also going to wonder, what are some of your achievements in your life that you're mostly proud of? And could be something personal or, something more professional.
I think there's two things that I would, if I was to ask achievements. I'm a mother of two grown-up children. 2 grown-up girls. So they're amazing. And it's not really my achievement. I mean, they are their own people. I didn't make them.
It is. I think it is. Well, you had to say how they become.
I had some influence, but they've turned out amazing. And I think if you hang out with young people, I mean, they're 28 and 31. There's all the things that my kids are. It's amazing. So very much proud of them. And then professionally, I think what I'm proud of is that I've managed to pivot several times. So I've had several careers, and I've had a traditional career. And then I had a wild time when I was an activist, accidental, whatever. And then running in Europe and changing the law. I'm very proud of myself. I look back and go, how did I do that? That was a bit mad. And then getting to Web3, that's been a fascinating time for me. And I was at a talk there for the anniversary of Ethereum up in Dublin with East Dublin. And I got some really nice compliments online, people saying the amazing. I'm not amazing, but thank you very much. It's life. These are younger people, and I've lived a life, and I've done things. And now I'm pivoting because I keep on, over talking here about my fiction that I'm really enjoying now, written for the audience of one. But I'm really, really loving that. And I think that's an ability.
No, please, Jillian, don't say that. Don't say that. It's not. You're going to have a huge audience and you're going to write more books and it's going to be amazing. Of course.
Undaunted I am. I absolutely will. Because I'll tell you what, funny thing about me, during the lockdown, I took up some painting. I haven't painted since I was in school. And did some painting. I have these ladies that I used to doodle. And do you know what I did with them? This is hilarious. I really liked what I did. So I went to IKEA. Well, I sent off for them. Obviously, it was during the pandemic. And they're all hanging on my walls. So I think I have a rather buoyant and crazy view of my talents, which is very nice because I have all my pictures on my walls. But anyway, I like doing what I'm doing. And this next pivot for me is into doing more creative writing. And if it's only for me, that's fine. I'd obviously like people to like it too as well. But it gives me great joy doing this and on the next project. And I'm thinking, I'm actually going to plot my next book. Before I start off with the foot, whatever. This, I actually have some things I want to do with in terms of structure. So I'm looking forward to getting the thing's going to prompt me to do it, and then having the structure. That's very exciting.
Yes, I really like your fearlessness that you kind of jump into new things. And I think I and other people can definitely learn from that. But is there anything that you would say to women that are kind of getting into AI and getting into blockchain and crypto right now? Do you have any, words of advice for young women?
Absolutely. Do you know, actually, someone else said it to me recently, find your tribe. So if you are interested in this, I think the most important thing, we've lived a lot of our life the last couple of years on Zoom and online. And I was very glad that on Wednesday, I decided I was going to talk, and I jumped in the car, and it was very hot, and I borrowed my daughter's car because she got aircon and I don't, and up to Dublin, and I was only given an 8-minute talk, but I met some really nice people. So I think my advice would be go in person and meet these people. And if the groups are not there, set them up. That's why we've got things like Eventbrite and Meetup and all the rest of it. And I think that's really interesting but meet people in the flesh and chat to them. Like we met in the flesh. That's why we're chatting now. And it was a very brief meeting, but it was lovely. And it's just, you kind of remember those things. And I think, and just, so if you're interested, don't worry about not understanding. Just go and meet people and chat and learn from them. That's my big advice. Go out and meet people.
Yeah, I also agree. Just meeting people. And it can be a little bit scary to just walk up to someone and say, oh, hello, who are you? But if you keep doing it, it gets easier and easier. So, yeah,
and I think
definitely.
people in Web3 are nice. They're nice people. I think before we would have gone to conferences that are more traditional tech conferences, and they're fine. But Web3 are much like on Wednesday night, I didn't really know, I knew one or two people, went up to another person, and we're best pals now. She was lovely. I was like, I know. I sat next to her. I said, do you mind if I join you? And we discovered we had things in common. And it was lovely. People are very friendly in the space, I think, and trust your instinct and just go out and say hello.
Absolutely. Jillian, what do you think is going to happen with blockchain and crypto in the next few years?
Oh, it's going to be brilliant. I'm really happy. I'm very happy. People who would be like the old fashioned anarchist style going, oh, I don't want institutions coming in. Don't want mass adoption. And, there's a lot of things that have to be fixed, but I'm very excited because I do see it is a democratizing technology, and it enables people. And if I hadn't jumped into this space, I would be, I think, a very sad lady, hunched over, acting my age, acting more than my age. And now I get here, because I'm also mixing with people from all around the world and different ages, and it's lovely. And it's given me a whole new lease of life. So I think there's an energy and a vibrancy to this space. So I think it's amazing. And I think what it offers, because I'll finish on this one, I'll rabbit on too long, but when I got involved with the .com boom, it was lovely because it was innovation and it was thinking outside the box or unthinking the world. And those are amazing things. But this section, despite all the FOMOs and the When Lambo and all that rubbish, the people want to make the world a better place. That is a genuine aspiration. And whether it's a faster, easier access to finance, or it's access to education or clean water, or just fixing a process that exists in the world that and making it faster. I don't know what it is, like, how to make a widget faster. So there's somebody not on a production line pushing buttons or something. So I think that to me it still holds true, that it's making the world a better place. I think we need a lot of that in this world right now.
Yeah. And it's that access to anyone. Anyone can create a wallet. It actually is very hard in some countries still for even women to open up a bank account. And this is a way that will enable it. And also now we are getting more regulation. The Genius Act just came into effect in the States. So it's a regulatory framework on stable coins. Basically, in short, you have to hold all the coins and tokens you say you do. So before, it was kind of, we went through a whole crisis with Luna, for example, which was an algorithmic stable coins, and God knows, it was backed by anything or nothing or what, supposedly by Bitcoin. And so that crashed. So the States is getting a lot more regulations right now, and that's going to enable maybe Facebook or Amazon to issue their own stable coin. So you will be able to transact very fast across borders, and anyone will be able to do it. So I think, the old bank system, I don't know. I think they might struggle in a few years, because who wants to wait a week for a transaction to clear, sending it from one country to another? We live, in 2025 where everything goes fast and so should our money, right? And so I'm also very positive with these changes that are happening. And kind of on top of that, AI, yes, some things are scary, but some things are going to be amazing too. You know, you're going to have agents doing transactions for you, maybe finding the best deals. And so I'm also very optimistic about the future. Last few years, it was a bear market. I heard a lot of FUD and no one's going to use it. No one's going to use Ethereum. You know, what's Bitcoin? It failed, but it's coming back and it's not going away anytime soon.
I agree. So the event that I went to for the Ethereum birthday in East Dublin, and I'm not tied to any particular coin, so it's not, I don't have any chain or anything that I want to promote. But there was huge enthusiasm. A lot of people there, and just nice people. Everyone was chatting, mixture of ages, mostly young, of course. There was a very nice vibe in the room. Just people being people and talking about stuff and being interested, and that's nice. That's nice too. I think that the future is people who are mixing in these circles are really good people, interested, fun, energetic.
Absolutely.
You know, nice is the wrong word
Jillian,
to use because nice means particular.
No, it's all good. Jillian, is there anything else you want to tell us, or anything else maybe that I missed that you want to highlight?
Well, I'm very grateful to be here chatting away and chatting awful rubbish, I'm sure.
No, don't say that. We all think you're so inspiring, actually.
Oh, well, thank you. Sorry, that's the terrible Irish thing to say. Oh, no, this whole thing. Do you know what? I'm very...
I see. It's a cultural thing.
It is a cultural thing. It absolutely is. Like, oh, the nice dress. Oh, this whole thing. But I think the last thing, if I want to leave, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful for my life because I have 2 grown-up kids. Grown-up kids are amazing. The girls are just fantastic. I live in a little seaside town called Arklow with a great bunch of friends, and I can walk everywhere. After years living in the countryside, it's lovely to be able to walk to all the different places. And my creative writing is coming back again, which is I've been meaning to do since I was a child. And only now that I'm actually sort of taking it seriously, if you like. And I'm just, well, and the thing I would say, it's never too late to start again. I'm in my 60th year now, and I'm going, whoa, this is going to be a cool year. And it is. It's only July. It's only the 7th month, and I've done so much already in my creative side that I'm very excited about. So yeah, go for it.
Right. And I think you highlight something very important because our culture here in the West is really focused on, you know, young women and, you know, your exterior. But the thing is, first of all, you can also be very beautiful as a 60-year-old woman, which you are. But I think it's also like the fact that you can reinvent yourself and do other things. You know, there's different lives, something that, you know, you're doing in your 20s, what you're doing in your 30s are different from your life in your 60s and in your 70s. It's not too late to change or do something that you love. So there's you know, a whole new life out there for you, basically.
It is true. I mean, and I say that's the one thing I'm most proud of, that I managed to pivot in different times. Things happened, and you take your stuff and you look back on your life and you go, oh, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be here. And right now I'm like, wow, this is a nice place to be. I've got over the fact that I'm 60, and I'm kind of going, ooh, this is nice. I have a lot of things happening in my life right now, and I'm very happy about it. So, wow. Yeah, roll on the next 30 years or so. Or maybe with AI, and roll on forever.
For sure. Jillian, how can people find you?
Okay, I think the easiest is probably LinkedIn. So it's my name, Jillian Godsil. I'm on Twitter also. But if you want to friend me on LinkedIn, that's probably the easiest way to catch me. And I've got a lot of my stuff there too as well. And I'm very happy to chat with people. And LinkedIn or Twitter.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for this conversation. And see you at some conference somewhere, or maybe your replica somewhere.
Oh, yeah.